Hi everyone, welcome to You Matter, the Self-Care Summit for Working Mums. My name's Debbie, I'm the host, and I'm here with Safa Boga from Kimya Healing. So welcome Safa to kick us off with our first talk, and I'll let you get right to it.
Hi everyone, my name's Safa. I'm a craniosacral therapist and also a energy healer. And I'm based in London and do a lot of work with my clients globally by distance. And one of the topics that I'm really passionate about speaking to you today is the power of the womb to heal. So when I give this session, I'm talking about womb healing, not just as a physical womb, not just as an organ, but actually as an portal to our emotions, a portal um, to our kind of spiritual and psychological depths. And womb is a really, really magnificent area that holds a lot of depth and a lot of healing capacity for us. So, womb anatomically relates to so many different and interrelates to so many different parts of our body. Um, Actually, the embryo, when it develops in the womb at just 2 weeks old, two impressions are formed, and those impressions are, one is for the mouth and one is for the genitals, and the what connects them is a line of fascia. So you can see that from 2 weeks old, the development of an embryo is already being the development of an embryo is already aligning the jaw and the pelvis, is already aligning the throat and the uterus. They're very deeply, deeply connected anatomically, but also deeply connected emotionally. So a lot of what I've noticed in my practice, and I work with women that are emotionally self-aware, that are spiritually open, and that are ready and willing to heal themselves. And a lot of them are coming in with conditions such as fibroids, cysts, pelvic floor dysfunction, post-birth complications because they've had surgeries, they've had C-sections, they've had difficult labour. A lot of them are coming in because they're struggling to conceive, and my work with them is to understand and help them to resolve the root cause of what is getting in their way. Now, what I've noticed is that when it comes to structural issues, a lot of women are not getting the advice or the support that they need when it comes to resolving pelvic twist, for example, or pelvic imbalance. So when there's an actual structural issue and there's a twist in the pelvis that perhaps happens through an early injury in life or through just a misalignment in their actual in their bone structure, maybe as a child, women are not being advised and guided that this actually affects their pelvic stability, and therefore affects the space that the uterus has to develop and to hold space, right? And if you think about what the purpose of a uterus is, it's to hold space, it's to hold and nurture a baby. Now, if there's a twist and there's contraction, all the muscles and tissues are being contracted, it's really difficult for space to be evenly distributed and for that uterus to open up really nicely to house a baby. So women come in to see me not knowing what their structural imbalances are, not knowing it has anything to do with their womb, and struggling then to understand why they're miscarrying, to understand why they're not able to conceive, to understand why they've got cysts and fibroids and a whole load of other complications when it comes to womb. What I find really interesting is that when all of this is uncovered through the work that we do together, often they're still left with the question of, well, I still want to conceive, I still want to have a baby. And when I invite them to feel their womb, right, just like we would feel another body part or another part of ourselves, they find it really difficult. And we then go down a line of inquiry, which is, if you can't feel your womb, if you have no connection with this space, with this really vital part of your body, how would you expect a baby to feel being in here, being in this womb space, if you can't feel it yourself, right? And that, when they finally allow themselves to go, oh, okay, so this is the home that I'm creating for my child. This is a home. This is a home I need to feel connected to. Just like when a woman is expecting, or when a family, a couple or a family are expecting, you would prepare the home. You would clean the home. You would beautify and make sure that it's comfortable. Now, what women don't seem to realize is that the womb is a home for a child, for a baby, newborn baby. So, womb requires connection, first of all, recognition that it's a home. Secondly, it requires attention. It requires cleaning, clearing. It requires harmonization. It requires all the blocks, psychological, emotional blocks that are living there to be cleared. Now, women that do this work, they experience miracles because they go down the path of healing their womb, which inherently is a path of healing their emotional world, is a path of healing their psychological blocks, is a path of deepening in their connection to their femininity, to their feminine power, to their power as, when I say feminine power, what I mean is their power as creators. And the feminine power lives also in men. They also have the power to create. Now, when a woman is fully embodied, as I call it, in their femininity, right? And they can feel their womb as an intelligence, and they are dropped in and they are connected and they are aware of their emotions and how their emotions affect their physical body and physiological processes through the nervous system. They really start to develop a capacity for rapid and accelerated healing. And this healing can happen in a matter of weeks. It does require a willingness. So I've taken women from having no womb connection and, for example, having really, really difficult periods that have been really painful, really irregular, inconsistent. When we've started to work together, they've been able to really understand, feel, release the blocks that are in the way, the stuff that's got in the way of them being able to flow and being able to release, which is what a period is. It's not just mindless bleeding. Now, when I was going on my own journey through womb healing, nobody told me that, what the bleed was. Nobody told me what the womb was. Nobody advised, guided. So women are getting very basic level of information. And then when they try to evolve as mothers, often that's when the complications come in, and that's when they start to have to deal with a lot of information, and it's overwhelming. So my invitation is, as women, now is the time to educate yourselves, whether you are premenstrual and you haven't started your periods yet, whether you are having periods and you don't really know what they are, you just, every month there's blood coming, you're soaking it up, and that's the be all and end all of your knowledge about what a period is for you and your connection with your body. Whether you are having periods and they are really, really difficult for you, you're feeling really emotionally unbalanced at that time, you're feeling like they're giving you a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, or they're irregular, which is scaring you, all of this can be healed. All you need to do is recognize where you are at this point in time in connection with your body and with your self-awareness. Then we move on to women who are trying to conceive. You know, that it's such an important area for women to be supported in, and often the support is very, again, very basic, right? So when a woman goes to try to conceive, unless she's in therapy and she's emotionally self-aware, are people inviting her, are the people around her inviting her to really understand the ebb and flow of her emotional content, to really understand her hormones and how they're going to affect her emotions, and how her emotions affect her nervous system, and how her nervous system affects the development of an embryo in utero. Because in utero stress is something that I have to deal with my clients when they're in their 50s and 60s in a very, very real way. So for those of you that are listening that are not sure what in utero stress is, in utero stress is when an embryo is developing in utero, when a fetus is developing in mother, and mother, her nervous system is under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. There's a high levels of anxiety. There's maybe trauma that hasn't been resolved that's playing through the mother's body, and she is not aware. And it is maybe even environmental influences, difficult relationships. All of this impacts the development and the nervous system of a developing embryo, right? We don't just have a baby the minute it pops out of the womb, right? We create the baby. Every single day, a woman is creating. Now, my invitation is for women to take responsibility for what they are creating, rather than waiting till the end of the process, right? We can nurture while baby is in womb. We can nurture and heal, not just ourselves as women, but the baby, right? How does in utero stress show up? I've worked with clients, including and as often especially male clients, who have completely disconnected from their bodies and from their emotional worlds. They have an inability to connect with people, especially women, emotionally. They're not sure why. They've always been like this. They're holding contractions in their bodies, in their tissues, that they don't even know why it's there. It hasn't come from an injury, but it's given them trouble for decades, right? They've not been able to get answers from an osteopath. The GP's got nothing to offer them, and they've given up. They come to see me, and we have to go to the root cause. And when that means tracing it all the way back to in utero, where that baby could hear its parents screaming at each other, where that baby then starts to come through the session as we work together in the session. That baby can start to feel mother's stress and anxiety that is never vocalized. That human being, when they're in their 50s and 60s and wondering why they're going through all of their emotional and anxious experiences and physical tension in the body, is suddenly transported to something that happened 50 years ago, and they have to now work through that, right? A lot of the reason why people don't want to heal is because they don't want to go to the root cause, because it's so difficult to see it, right? But when they do go there, what they release from their bodies, people have described my sessions as life-changing, as profoundly healing. They have said they've healed things they didn't even know they were holding in their bodies. And they've been completely bewildered and blown away. And this work takes place in a matter of weeks. So when I talk about womb healing, I'm not talking only about the physicalities, right? And the structural womb and the pelvis dysfunction and the way the pelvis and the jaw are mirrors of each other, holding the tension in the jaw, mirroring the tension held in the pelvic muscles. I'm not talking just about that. I'm talking about the entire experience of you as a human being. Your emotional world, your psychological world has all been shaped by your experiences of being created and of being birthed. And the opportunity to heal in this really, really deep space is endless. So moving on to women who have had their children, they have given birth successfully and they've conceived, and they're now raising their children. That is a really, really important time for womb healing. Why? Because often that's the time when women completely disconnect from their womb. They go, oh, job's done now. They forget all about it. And now their entire focus is on their child. Now that's to be expected, right? However, your ability to nurture your child, your capacity for presence, your capacity for emotional depth, for connection, for holding, for peace, which is what a child is really nourished with, is reflected in your capacity to bring that to yourself by deepening your connection with womb. The womb and the root are inherently connected. The womb and the heart are inherently connected. Your ability to ground in stillness, to still yourself, is related to your ability to connect with womb. And when women, for the first time, experience with me the depth of stillness that they are able to access when I take them into womb space, all thoughts dissolve away. All stress dissolves like immediately. And they are left with a pervading feeling of peace and of calm. It is such a beautiful and profound experience that it doesn't leave them and they want more of it. And it's something that you can access in your own time. Why is this important to a mother? Those of you that are mothers and that have been mothers will know that stillness, calmness, groundedness within your own being is what the child will mirror back at you. When a woman holds subconscious stress, anxiety, restlessness, discontent, the child mirrors it back at them. I have had mothers bring in their children time and time again, asking me to treat the child. And the issue's been with the mother. The child is just showing the mother. This is what you have not resolved within yourself. So as a mother, your healing doesn't stop when you have given birth and physically healed the wound, right? Your healing is ongoing because your healing is growth. Your healing is connection. Your healing is relating to your child. Your healing is safety for your child. I get so many adults that come and say that their mothers growing up were in another land, in another space. They were there, physically present, doing all the right things, but they just knew as children that their mums were not there, not emotionally. A child feels everything. A child is an open, energetic vessel. They are so open. There is nothing a child won't feel. Now, the more a child feels that is dysregulating for its system, the more stress a child feels, the more it has to learn defense mechanisms to store it away, the more it has to learn how to shut itself down. That impacts the vagus nerve and impacts all the organs in their body. When a child learns to desensitize, to distance themselves, because the emotional world, the environment, is not still. And I'm not talking about not chaotic. I'm not talking about environments where there's domestic abuse or where there's unhappy relationships or where there's stress and tension. I'm talking about stillness, peace, space. How much of that do you have within your own body right now? How much of that did your mother have? How much of that would you say is the quality that resonates in your household? How much of that is the quality that you want to bring to your child? Because your children growing up in a world where it's all about fitting into boxes and achieving and pressure to perform. The least that we can do as women is provide space, provide calm, provide peaceful nurturing that begins and ends with us. I'm often encountering women that have had their children and the children are off at school, nursery, even uni. This is another really important time of a woman's life. She's served, right? She's put the time in. She's grown her children. She's nurtured them. She's sacrificed. She's done so much more than she probably ever thought she would have to do. She's done it, right? Now what? This is when I get women coming to see me with all sorts of conditions, but primarily with conditions that you can trace them all down to disconnection. Feeling of, I've lost my purpose, I'm not really too sure what to do now. Feeling of, okay, I'm in a job, it's great, I mean, it lets me work 3 days a week from home, but I don't really love it. Feelings of, okay, my children are off to uni and they've got their own lives now, and I'm left with my partner and, things are kind of, like they've always been. Like that kind of tone and that kind of language and that kind of sentiment, what does that do to a woman's life force, to a woman's power of being a creator? What has happened? So when I start to work with my clients and I really go into what is going on in your life, what is the root cause, what are your emotions around this, how do you feel? It really is coming back to feelings of disconnection. And how do we heal that? How do we heal a woman that is disconnected from her power, disconnected from her purpose, disconnected from her path, disconnected from deep intimacy with her partner? These are the inflection points where women give up and they go, you know what? I just have to live with this now for the sake of my children, for the sake of what I've invested in. This is it. This is life. No, it's not. It's not life. There is so much more that women are getting when they heal themselves. They are thriving. I get women that come to me and in a matter of weeks, they've gone from that level of pervading disconnection, disenchantment and unhappiness, along with all the other physical pains and stresses that they've got going on in their body, to healing their womb, their connection with womb. And what arises when a woman who has done her raising of children and who has moved from that phase into her life, what arises within a woman is the reminder of her power that starts to come through as she connects with womb, not as a physical organ that is now redundant because she's not making children, but as a portal to her emotional world, to her spiritual prowess. The information, the insight that comes through women when I take them into womb, what they experience of their own power through their body in an embodied way is indescribable. They get a new lease of life back. They feel energy rushing back through their system. They feel themselves, all the thoughts just completely dissolved away. They feel themselves anchored in deep, deep stability in the pelvis, in the root chakra, down deep into the earth. They connect with the pulsation and the heartbeat of the entire earth. They recognize themselves as a reflection of the earth, right? That kind of power is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about girl power. I'm talking about the power of the creator, which is inherently within the feminine energy, which is inherently part of healing womb. So all of this within a matter of weeks, and often women have spent lifetimes feeling disempowered. The next phase that women often go through is the phase of becoming an elder, the menopause. And they come to see me because they are not sure often whether they're in menopause, or they are experiencing difficult symptoms such as palpitations, they're having feelings of anxiety, they're feeling hot flushes, they're feeling very heavy fatigue and sometimes head fogginess, the whole load, a whole spectrum. I'm just going to be completely real. All of it can be resolved. People are completely programmed and brainwashed to think that because something has a hormonal consideration, it cannot be treated unless it's with synthetic hormones. That is one particular path. If you want to engage broader with your physiology, everything has an impact on our hormonal system. Everything. Our nervous system and our hormonal system are one. Our emotions inherently impact our nervous system. So if you don't understand that your emotional world impacts your hormonal system, then you have not been taught basic physiology, right? This is all really basic and women are not being taught. And this is what my work is. My work is to take a woman, not to sit and talk to her, but to allow her to experience her own body, her own power, how everything is connected within her and how everything can be healed within her, right? The elder who's coming into menopause or who has been in menopause a while, this society that we live in likes to make elders feel redundant, like their life force is up, like their power is over. And actually, this is a time when women are just beginning. They're beginning again. Why? Because this time that I call being an elder is a time when there is stillness. The womb is still. This is what it's supposed to be, right? Because by the time a woman is an elder, she should have worked through all her major life processes. All these huge hormonal and emotional fluctuations should have been recognized, integrated for what they were, which was emotional intelligence. When they are not, when they are put in boxes and shut down, when they are disregarded, what happens? A woman has to carry that into her eldership, right? Being an elder is a time when there is deep serenity and deep stillness invited into the entire system, into the entire womb. Why? Because the elder holds the movement. She's a guardian for the womb. Now, when a woman hasn't resolved and worked through and healed, by the time she gets to menopause, all her shit has started to hit her again. All the anxiety, all the physical discomfort, all the insecurity, all of the stuff that she has not healed is now coming through. That is why menopause can be such a hugely confusing time for women, such a hugely disturbing time for women. They feel like they're losing everything instead of gaining everything. Why do they feel like they're losing everything? When this is such a sacred and revered time for women, when this is the time when they come to be respected for their wisdom and for their knowing, it's because they haven't cultivated wisdom and knowing within themselves. They haven't done the healing. Now, this is available to every single woman. I've just taken you on a life cycle journey, right? From embryology all the way through to being an elder, menopause, and the periods in between. The woman goes through a massive, massive cycle. Cycle within cycles, spirals within spirals. Childbirth itself is a spiral, a great spiral. That's how the head comes out of the womb, in a spiral formation. A woman is going through spirals all the time. Spirals are an invitation for you to heal. If you don't heal, you will feel yourself not spiraling into an expansive growth place, emotionally and spiritually and physically. You will feel yourself going round and round in circles. So, my invitation is for you to choose. Do you want to spiral into a state of expanded healing, wisdom, knowing, embodiment, health, vibrancy, deep feminine power, creativity, ecstasy? That is your birthright. Or do you want to go round and round in circles? Because the choice is yours. That's my message. So I'm inviting anyone who's interested to heal the root cause, who's emotionally available to themselves, who's aware and open, and who is ready to heal the root cause, to connect with womb, their birthright, to heal womb, to realize what is possible for you, instead of putting yourself in a small box and saying, this is the way my life is now. I invite you to get in touch with me. My name is Safa. I work by distance. I work at the root cause, and I help you over a transformation program of 6 weeks to really go deeper than you ever have been before. I also run a 10-day transformational rebirthing program, which is a group healing program, and that is a very, very powerful way to release emotional, psychological imprints and anything that is holding you back from your connection with yourself. This is opening on the 22nd of May, and I have a few places available. So if you're interested to join, please let me know. I do run one of these every 6 weeks, and it's a beautiful way, if you're not ready for one-to-one transformation, one-to-one healing with me, it's a beautiful way to still experience deep healing and have the support of a group and other women who are going through this too. So I hope that that's been useful. Please let me know and contact me if you've got questions. I'm on Facebook, Kimia Healing. I'm also on, I have a website, you can read more about me. I write lots of blog articles, and I also have my own podcast. So I hope that's helpful. I look forward to connecting with some of you soon. Let me know what you're going through and how you feel I might be able to help you. So, Debbie, that's where I'll wrap up now, if that's okay for you.